Friends, he was going out to clear his head, but didn't come back.
A text to say sorry was the last anyone heard of Stephen. But all is not as it seems.
Right now, live, we need your help to find him. This is Missing Live. We're back for another week and your help is needed to find just some of the 200,000 people currently missing in the UK.
If you think you can help with any of the cases coming up on today's programme, then please pick up the phone. The police and the charity Missing People are here live with us all morning. The number to call, as usual, is 0500 700 700. Last week, there was an incredible response from you all, so thank you for that. Jo is here again from Missing People. Good morning, Jo.
Good morning.
What sort of update have you had from the weekend?
We've had lots of calls on the missing 14-year-old Andrew Gosden. He's missing from Doncaster and was caught on CCTV at King's Cross when he went missing. Lots of calls on him, and that's looking very good. Over half a dozen
Brilliant.
calls
Anything
on
else
Friday.
quickly?
Also, updates on Alan Templeton. He's the missing 25-year-old from Scotland. That's right. Lots of calls about him as well, so we're keeping our fingers crossed at Missing People.
Brilliant. Well, we'll be chatting later on in the programme and hopefully you'll have more updates for us then. Thank you. Louise.
Yes, the calls you've made so far really are making a big difference and your help is still needed. People go missing for all sorts of reasons. Alzheimer's is one of them. Actress Linda Bellingham is here later. Her mum suffered with the illness and Linda will be talking to us about what she did to stop her going missing.
But first, a text to say sorry is the last thing one mum hears from her son. What happens next is still a mystery.
Stephen Hadley's now 27. He's been missing since September the 20th, 2006. These CCTV pictures show him that morning in a supermarket. His disappearance has triggered a major police investigation that has spread across the UK. Stephen is from the busy town of Walsall in the West Midlands.
He was a very kind and gentle child. He was very loving, he was a happy-go-lucky kid.
Stephen's always had a lot of friends.
I first met Steve at school, at senior school. That was, 1991. He used to live 200 yards up the road, so it's like walk to Steve's and we'd walk into town, you know, just doing what kids do. But it was all about laughing, walking, cheeking each other more than anything, and that was it then, mates for life, really.
As he got older, his hobbies was music and guitars. Absolutely adored guitars, and he put a guitar on when he was about 13 and never took it off.
He definitely found, you know, his kind of niche in music, for sure, and he loved it. Guitar was everything to him, everything, and for a self-taught kid, he's really good.
Stephen leaves school at 16 and 2 years later moves to Devon. He takes a job at a local pub that has regular live music. It's a great place for him, surrounded by lots of musicians.
He was someone I met through music and gained a friendship with him through using him as a musician in the band. He was respected as a musician and he was sort of well known amongst everybody. So he was a good lad.
Stephen's really happy in Devon. But in 2006, things start to change and he has some bad luck. He loses his job, breaks up with his girlfriend and has to move out of his flat.
After he lost his job and his flat and everything happened, he went downhill. pretty quick. He went really quiet. He said he couldn't sleep, he couldn't eat, he couldn't, think straight.
Stephen decides it's time for a change. In August 2006, he leaves Devon and moves back to the West Midlands.
For the first couple of weeks he was back, it was, a lot of drinking, a lot of seeing old people we hadn't seen for a while, going to a good few parties.
Although he gets back in touch with his old friends, he's not himself. His mum remembers one of their phone conversations in late summer 2006.
I spoke to him for about an hour and a half, and we had a really long chat. And he was saying how down he was and how difficult he was finding things.
It's the 19th of September 2006, and Stephen goes to the pub in Walsall with his mates.
He was mute on that night, mute, to a point where someone actually said to him, "You haven't spoken all night, lad." And he just sat there, smiled, nodded, and that was it, kind of thing. And he obviously had something on his mind that, he didn't want to share with anybody.
The next morning, most of Stephen's flatmates head out to work whilst he sleeps in.
Gaz, our mate, was at home. He works from home. And I think Steve got up around 10 o'clock in the morning. And Gaz was upstairs working, and Steve just kind of strolled into him, was like, "Yeah, I'm just off into Warsaw now." I think the exact words he used were, "I'm off for a ponder." And that was it, off he went.
2 hours later, Stephen makes contact with his mum in Devon.
He sent me a text just saying, "Hi Mum, sorry the way things have turned out. And, I'll love you always," and that was it. And I just knew instantly, as soon as I read the text, I just knew that there was something wrong.
Later, on Missing Live. What can CCTV footage reveal about Stephen's disappearance? And the discovery of his bag near a canal results in a major search, but all is not what it seems.
And we'll be finding out what the search for Stephen comes up with later on in the programme. Now, if you think you know anything about his case, then please call Missing People on 0500 700 700. Remember, calls from landlines are free, but mobile charges may vary.
There are lots of reasons why people go missing, and Alzheimer's is one of them. Later, we'll bring you the case of Jim Dowsett, who disappeared as a result of his illness. Right now, the actress Linda Bellingham joins us to talk about the worry she had, keeping track of both her mum and dad, actually. Right. Morning to you. Just let's talk about your mum briefly first. When did you realise something was up?
Yes, I mean, the thing about Alzheimer's, I think, that's so complicated about it is that when the onset takes over, it's quite slow. Or it comes and goes. It can be slow and fast. And so with my mother, she seemed a bit, just a bit sort of strange and elderly. But she wasn't that old. In fact, she was early 70s. So, but I remember clearly one day she asked me how to use the washing machine, and then we knew there was something wrong. And then you watch people in a different way. And the biggest thing with my mother to keep her safe was that not to use the car. And again, you just think, don't take the car. And then you find that she's taken the keys and taken the car. So we had to hide the keys. And in fact, it was slightly different with my mother because she had bad hips and she had hip replacements and ultimately was bedridden. So we didn't have that problem. It was taken away from us. But my dad subsequently started to develop dementia, and we discovered, thank goodness, and I think this is the thing to say, if you see somebody elderly, disorientated, they're not axe murderers. Mental health is not, it has varying degrees, and Alzheimer's is not about mad people who are going to attack you. If you see somebody looking lost and frail, say, just ask them, take them through it. But he used to go to Tesco's and have breakfast, and we got a call from somebody there saying that they knew he wasn't quite right, A, because he kept driving into people in the car park, but that he'd had 2 breakfasts. He'd been and had a breakfast, gone away and come back and had another breakfast because he'd forgotten he'd had a breakfast. And we were lucky in that sense that somebody so sweetly rang us, and we were able to then monitor him. And of course, the horrible thing is to take away the car. It's this thing about not being able to have the freedom to do what you want.
So very interesting what you're saying about people helping. I know this affects lots of people. Linda, you're going to stay with us throughout the programme and we'll talk to you later. So if you've got any questions for her, also for our team, please get in touch via email missing.live@bbc.co.uk.
Now, on Friday, we told you about the mum of two who left for work one morning but never showed up. We've been filming with Sussex Police, who've found her car but are still looking for her.
A woman is reported missing and West Sussex Police is starting a search for her.
This is the investigation into the disappearance of Elaine Taggart. The last independent sighting of Elaine was around 3:30 p.m. on the 3rd of January. To date, we have got nothing to suggest what has happened to Elaine or indeed where Elaine is. It was almost as if she's completely disappeared off of the radar.
Elaine Taggart's 48. She's married with 2 children and she lives in Worthing in West Sussex. She's got a busy job at Brighton College. On the 3rd of January this year, she drives home with a friend from work.
I usually catch a lift with her. She dropped me off. Came to work the next morning, expecting to see her. And I thought it was a bit strange that she hadn't turned up.
About 9-ish or so, I got a bit worried, so I rang her house and got her son and asked if Mummy was there, and he said no, she's at work. So I asked to speak to his dad and spoke to him, and he said no, she left for work, fairly normal time. She may have broken down. So I rang my husband and asked him to drive along the seafront towards where she lives, because I know which way she comes to work. And he rang me back and he'd found her car not far from Goring train station.
Elaine's car is parked just outside Goring by Sea. No one's seen her around the town. Fiona calls Elaine's husband to see if he knows what's happened.
And he said she needed a couple of weeks to get over things. I was like, fine. He said she'll be back, give her 2 weeks. So I left it for 2 weeks.
That fortnight was a nightmare because it was the longest fortnight. And on the day after the fortnight, I rang Andy and he hadn't heard from her. And I had this conversation saying, we're going to have to do something.
A fortnight later, when Elaine's still not come back to work, Keir reports her missing to Worthing Police.
To date, we've carried out fairly extensive inquiries to try and identify some sort of location or whereabouts of where Elaine might be or might have gone. And to date, these have proved unsuccessful.
Elaine's car is the only real lead the police have.
A red Fiat Punto was found on the morning of the 4th of January 2008, and it was found quite close to Goring railway station. We've carried out a review of the CCTV footage from that day and can find no trace of Elaine getting on the platform and then onto a train.
But if Elaine hasn't caught a train, where is she? Police are still searching the area.
Ideally, what we'd like to find is nothing, because what that then goes to show is that Elaine may well still be alive.
But they've not found anything else that could be a clue to where she is. It's now over 3 months since Elaine was last seen. She's not been in touch with her family. The police are still looking into what might have led to her disappearing.
We can find actually no real precursor events that would suggest such a sudden disappearance by Elaine. We've obviously gone back over time in terms of researching with friends, family, relatives, etc. And to date, as I say, we can find no precursor events that would have suggested such a dramatic change in lifestyle by Elaine.
Elaine's 90-year-old father, Douglas, is a Chelsea pensioner.
I want to plead to my daughter Elaine to return to her home at Ferring. Elaine has missed many important dates: her son's 14th birthday, her aunt Sarah, recent birthday, Mothering Sunday and Easter Sunday. Your own birthday is not very far away, and I don't know where to send your card and present. So please get in touch and end all our concerns. Love, Dad.
I miss the laughs. And, yeah, I miss her very much.
We just want her back. I don't care about work or anything, I just want her as a friend.
So if you think you might have seen Elaine, then please get in touch with West Sussex Police on 0845 60 70 999. Now, Detective Inspector Wendy Burton, who was with us on Friday, if you remember, is running this investigation, and she's on the phone now. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, Rav.
What sort of calls have you had then since last Friday?
Well, we've had a couple of calls from via Missing People charity, and they've had sightings of Elaine in Portsmouth and Penzance. Unfortunately, neither of those have turned out to be positive so far, but we're still keen for more people to get in contact if they think they've seen her.
Yeah, of course, so nothing of major significance at the moment. Now, is there any way you've tracked where she travelled that day?
Well, we know on that day she travelled from Brighton back towards her home in Ferring, and generally we know that she is around the Brighton and Worthing area, and also around the area of London, which is where she used to live and where her father lives.
Well, listen, best of luck with the appeal. Hopefully we get some more calls and emails today. Thank you, Louise.
Thanks so much.
Now to another case that needs your help today. 15-year-old Tamara Williams is from Croydon in Surrey. She's been missing since the 5th of January 2008. Tamara is 5'2", of medium build with collar-length black hair and brown eyes. She also has a gap between her two front teeth. If you know anything about where Tamara is, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700. Calls are free from landlines, but mobile charges can vary.
More now on Stephen Hadley. Although he's been seen on CCTV and his clothes are found by a local canal, all is not as it seems.
Stephen Hadley's now 27. He's from Walsall near Birmingham. After school, he moves to Devon. 2 years ago, he loses his job. He returns to the West Midlands. At 10 a.m. on September the 20th last year, Stephen tells his flatmate that he's going out to have a ponder. He contacts his mum, Debbie.
He sent me a text just saying, you know, hi Mum, sorry, the way things have turned out. And I just knew instantly, as soon as I read the text, I just knew that there was something wrong. I phoned Rob straight away. They went downtown that night and had a look round, you know, all the local haunts and the pubs and stuff. And there was nothing.
He'd left all of his stuff, you know, credit cards, guitar, a CD Walkman. If you're going to go somewhere, especially if you're Stevie G, you take your CD Walkman with you, you know, music's what you got.
Stephen doesn't go home that evening. His mum finds out and she reports him missing to West Midlands Police.
The initial inquiries of the police commenced here at Walsall were obviously contact local friends, relatives and family members just to ascertain if Stephen had made contact with them. Stemming from that, inquiries were made through Stephen's mobile phone and into his bank accounts.
When police track Stephen's bank account, they find out he's bought something from a supermarket in Walsall at 12:30 that afternoon.
We did inquiries through CCTV here at Walsall and through the town centre, and aware that Stephen had visited Tesco's at Walsall on the bridge and purchased a bottle of Jack Daniels. He'd also attended Lloyd's, the chemist, and also purchased a number of ibuprofen, paracetamol substances.
From here, Stephen vanishes. But 6 weeks later, there's a development in the investigation. Some of his belongings are found.
1st of November 2006, I was on duty in the Walsall front office when a gentleman came in carrying a large rucksack. The bag had actually been found by a canal off Longwood Road between Walsall and Aldridge. Upon inspecting all the items inside the bag, found a full gentleman's set of clothing. Each item was absolutely sodden wet through. Stephen's mother was asked to come and visit the police station. She formally identified this clothing as Stephen's property.
What does it mean that Stephen's bag and clothes are near this canal?
Where we stood now is the location where all the clothing belonging to Stephen Hadley was found. As you can see, it's relatively close to the canal. About 12 months ago, there was a gap between the hedgerow there, which would have given easy access down to the canal.
Police do a complete search of the area. They find a T-shirt. Checking the CCTV footage, they confirm it's the one Stephen was wearing on the day he disappeared.
On the far side of the shrubland, approximately 50 to 80 metres away, is where the T-shirt was found by the professional search team on or about the 4th of November 2006.
Obviously, we went straight up to Birmingham and we went to the area, which I knew well. And I really thought we were going up there to hear the worst news possible.
Police have to investigate the possibility that Stephen has taken his own life. Police divers start searching for a body.
The canal is about 3 to 4 feet deep, so officers are actually getting into the canal and walking 2, 3, 4 officers abreast and actually walking their way through the canal. There's very, very minimal flow in that canal. There's a number of locks at either end. These were also searched. And no body has been found, which would suggest that Stephen didn't go into the canal.
Police and his family are baffled. The search proves Stephen didn't drown in the canal. But why are his clothes and rucksack abandoned here? The investigation has reached a dead end and there are no clues to where Stephen could be. But over the last 18 months, Stephen's mum has been doing her own search to find her son.
Everywhere I go, I always keep posters in my bag and in the car. And just anywhere I go, I'll just always pop a poster up. If we go down to Cornwall, I'll always put one up in every town we go to. So, you know, there's quite a few dotted around Cornwall now.
One of the posters she put up leads to the most positive development in the investigation. Still to come on Missing Live. Stephen's missing for 6 months, when there are 2 sightings of a man fitting his description in Cornwall.
As I walk round, there's a bench behind me. Sat on the bench was a male sort of slumped forward, seemed to be staring into space.
We'll be back with the search for Stephen later on in the programme. Now, let's talk to Joe from Missing People, and we have got some really exciting good news about Abigail Davenport. Tell us.
That's right. I've just had word through from Missing People just now to say it looks like as a direct result of information received following her appeal on Friday that she has been found. We can't say a huge amount of information at the moment, but it looks like it's a direct result of that, and thanks really to all viewers, and it shows that those calls really do work.
So absolutely amazing. That's literally come into your computer in the last 2 minutes or so, and that is from people watching us on Friday. That's right. Called the Missing People number, and she has been found. Remind us a little bit about her.
She's been missing since the beginning of April, and she's only 14, so we were really, really concerned for her, very vulnerable, so that's great news.
OK, thank you. And so you can see that your calls really are making a difference. Thank you.
Good.
Absolutely fantastic result. Right, another case now that needs your help. Liz Kershaw has been missing from Warrington in Cheshire since August 2005. Her children really want her to get in touch, especially since she's been missing. Liz has become a grandmother. She's 5'1", slim, with shoulder-length greying brown hair. The last time anyone saw her, she was wearing a cream jacket and black trousers. So if you've seen Liz, or you know where she could be, then please call Missing People on free phone 0500 700 700. And we'll have more on Liz's case tomorrow.
Jim suffering from Alzheimer's. One day, he leaves his hospital room, walks out the door and is never seen again. Can you help find him?
Jim Dowsett's from Lancaster. He's in his mid-50s when he's diagnosed with early onset dementia. The condition causes severe memory loss and confusion. By 2004, Jim can no longer look after himself. His family find a specialist care home for him.
Social services rang me and said that this one catered for sort of like the younger side with dementia. So I went round and had a look, and I liked it because they weren't locked in and they were able to walk around the grounds, etc. And there was a nice feel about it.
In early 2004, Jim moves into the Crystal Hall care home in Preston, 20 miles from his home in Lancaster. One afternoon, 14 months later, staff realise Jim's not where he should be.
We do residence check every 2 hours. The last time Jim was actually seen was at a 5 p.m. check. He had had his tea, he had had his medication, he was actually resting in his room. So he was noticed to be missing at 7:15. That was the next checks that we done.
The house and grounds are checked, but there's no sign of Jim. He's reported missing.
Mr Dowsett, suffering from mental illness, dementia, form of dementia, was a very vulnerable person for us. So clearly, at the very outset, he was classed as what we would class as a high-risk missing from home person, and a lot of resources were put into it immediately. Coordinated search was done by physical search on the ground. Obviously, it was night time. We used our aircraft, the helicopter, with various heat-seeking devices. Specially trained dogs were utilised, our mounted branch, police search trained people on the ground. So a whole host of issues were put into it.
But nothing is found. Jim has vanished.
They don't seem to think he had anything. He never had a lot of money anyway. The most he could have had perhaps in his pocket was £10. But as far as I know, they've never said that any clothes went with him. Didn't take a bag with him, as far as I know. It was as if he just upped and walked out the door.
Jim's been missing for weeks before there's a sighting, 20 miles from the care home.
They had one on the Lancaster Canal, which we were quite pleased about because it was a lady that used to work in the same hospital as him 15 years previously.
And she said that she was 99.9% sure that it was him.
But when the police went there, he was no longer there, if it was him. And they had a helicopter up and looked, but they didn't find him.
It's now almost 3 years since Jim disappeared. His health is fragile, but his family still haven't given up hope that he'll be found.
If anybody even thinks they might have seen anything, or might have seen him, just get in touch. There's a lot of people in the family waiting, and it's hard to live every day not knowing.
If you know anything about what might have happened to Jim, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700. We've also got our email at the programme as well. Now, Jim went missing because of Alzheimer's. Two people that know all too well the effects of Alzheimer's are here with me, Linda Bellingham and Dawn Edmonds. Now, Dawn, we know your husband suffers from Alzheimer's.
That's correct.
Dave. He was always really active, wasn't he? When did you notice that things were a bit amiss?
He was always extremely active, rock climber, mountaineer. I thought he was depressed as he passed his 50th birthday. We took a trip around the world, a career gap, because I was with him 24/7 in unfamiliar environments. I think perhaps his symptoms were more obvious to me than they might have been if he'd just been going to work and coming home.
And when he did start to go wandering, you had to sort of set up systems, didn't you, to find him? What did you do?
Yes, I did. I became aware that he was becoming more and more vulnerable, but he also wanted to maintain his independence. I couldn't lock him in, or he'd just break a window and leave. So we created a little identity card, but we had to do that together so that he would take ownership of it and so that he would accept it as something that he would carry, and it had my phone number on it. We also carried a whistle each, because it was quite easy to become separated in crowds in towns and that sort of thing. So we would play with this whistle, and he would respond if I whistled him, and he would whistle to me, and we would turn it into a game so that again he would accept me keeping a track of him.
Linda, we also know that you took to sort of putting your car keys when your mum couldn't find them. There are devices, actually, aren't they, like this one, that people can wear.
Yes.
Is that a good idea? Would that work with
No,
somebody?
I think, I was talking to Dawn about it earlier, I think it's a fantastic idea. And you hear people, oh, you know, your human rights are threatened and there's a privacy thing, but you have to understand, and Dawn knows, that the point about the rights is far more important, I think, for the one you love to feel halfway decent as a human being, if you can find a way of getting them to be fitted with some kind of tracking system, than it is that anybody should think you're taking their rights away from them. It's like having children, but without the thing with a child, the simplicity of telling a child, don't do this. You're dealing with an adult who, a lot of the time, is fighting you and fighting the illness, aren't they?
Absolutely. And if you introduce something like this at the time of diagnosis and give people choices, they will appreciate the fact that a gadget like that will help them to maintain their independence.
And will also mean that they can be found more easily as well.
Completely.
Thank you both for the moment. Linda is going to stay with us. She'll be back later on the programme. If you have any questions for her, or you've had to deal with the effects of Alzheimer's or dementia, you can email us, missing.live@bbc.co.uk.
Now, she's travelled the country looking for her son. Two people hundreds of miles from where she lives say they've seen him. The search is back on for Stephen Hadley.
27-year-old Stephen Hadley is from Walsall in the West Midlands. At 10 a.m. on September the 20th, 2006, he disappears. His clothes and rucksack are found abandoned by a canal. Believing they could be looking for a body, police search the water, but nothing's found. His mum Debbie does all she can to find her son. She starts a poster campaign. There's a sighting of Stephen in the village of St Just in Cornwall. A woman is convinced it's him.
I was walking up Cape Cornwall Street, going from one place of work to another. As I reached the town hall, which is in Bank Square in the centre of St Just, there was a young man sitting outside the town hall. Later on that afternoon, I went over to the newsagents, and in the window, I hadn't seen it before, was a poster. And I thought, oh, that's the young man I saw earlier. And lo and behold, I looked at the poster, and it was a missing persons poster. The face matched exactly, and it was definitely the person I saw in the morning.
This news comes 6 months after Stephen's reported missing. Then, just 4 days later, an off-duty community support officer in St Just notices someone new to the area.
I came up to get some bits and pieces in the shop. As I walked round, there's a bench behind me. Sat on the bench was a male sort of slumped forward, seemed to be staring into space. And I just sort of made a mental note to myself.
When the officer returns to the police station, he sees the report of the other sighting earlier in the week.
There was a description of clothing, build, height, general appearance, just fitted the description to a T.
There are now 2 credible sightings in the same village. Cornish police follow it up by searching local farms and campsites, but there's no one fitting Stephen's description. In September, it'll be 2 years since Stephen went missing. His friends and family are convinced he's alive and would really like him to make contact.
I miss laughing with him more than anything. You know, we used to laugh and laugh and laugh hysterically, you know.
He brought a smile to your face because he was always grinning, and he's quiet, but he's he's got stuff to say. If he says something, it's worth hearing, and and he's just a nice guy.
It doesn't matter where he is or what he's doing. I just want to know he's all right and happy. I just want him to be happy.
If you know anything about where Stephen might be, please call Missing People on 0500 700 700.
Now, Joe's still with us from Missing People, but obviously the major news today is the fact that Abigail Davenport has been found.
Yeah, she was just 14 years old and missing since the beginning of the month. There was really great concern for her, and really it just shows that making one call with a sighting can really make a difference and lead to somebody being found like this.
And is that what's happened today? Literally someone's just called in and given
I think
that
the
vital
information was coming through last week. The appeal went out on Friday. It's been worked on over the weekend and great results. So please keep the calls coming in to Missing People.
Really quick turnover. That's exactly what we're trying to do here on Missing Live. Now, just tell us quickly about the Runaway helpline. I mean, obviously, if there's other youngsters out there, then they can just phone in on that, can't they?
Runaway helpline. It's a free, confidential national service for all young people if they were missing. We can't trace calls. Just call through and get some help.
Well, let's hope they do. Thank you, Louise.
Last Thursday, we told you about Kay Hawke, who went missing 16 months ago. Despite a number of calls, neither she nor her car has been found. The search continues.
On the 28th of December 2006, grandmother Kay Hawke drives away from her home in North Cornwall and disappears. 65-year-old Kay has 2 children and she's very close to her grandchildren. She lives in St Day, a small market town, with her husband Gordon.
Kay and I met when we were both 19. I was attracted to her straight away, really. I mean, she had lovely brown eyes and a beautiful smile. But it did take me several months to arrange a date. But we seemed to hit it off straight away, and it went on from there, really.
Gordon and Kay have been married for over 40 years. Kay's elderly mother, Kathleen, moves to Cornwall to live with the couple. It's after her death in early 2006 that Kay begins to get depressed.
May 2006. Kay was very low. We went to the GP and she ended up having some weeks counselling, which seemed to do a lot of good. I think she was grieving, really, for her mum.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse.
By December, her whole family notice a serious change in Kay's behaviour.
On Christmas night, we were sitting in the lounge here. Kay was sat on one side of the settee, and without any warning, she just leapt across and hugged me and just burst into tears.
Then things suddenly come to a head.
It was an ordinary morning. We had a cup of tea in bed, which we normally do. I really went in the shower. How long in the shower? 5, 10 minutes. Came out again. Shouted to Kay that I was out, it was her turn, sort of thing. No, couldn't get any answer. I noticed that my car, which was parked on the drive, wasn't there, and it was then that I realised she'd taken the car and gone.
Gordon contacts the police and Kay becomes the focus of a major missing person investigation.
It's been quite clear from the outset in this investigation that the key to finding Kay is finding the vehicle she was driving. We loaded the registration onto the automatic number plate recognition system within 2 hours of her being reported missing. If the vehicle had passed through one of our fixed or mobile sites, it would have been identified.
Then, 4 days after her disappearance, there's a development, just 10 miles from Kay's home. Nathan Jarvis, a local plumber who knows Kay and Gordon, is on his way to the surfing beach at Godrevy, a short drive from St Day.
We came into the car park off the main road there. I've looked in the car just as they're going past, and I've seen who I thought was Kay, and Kay was looking at me. I knew it was Kay because I'd spent several months at her house and her daughter's house doing work for them.
The emergency services are mobilised and an air, sea and land search of the area is launched. Miles of coastline, forest and moorland are covered, but there's no sign of Kay or her car. No one has seen her since January last year.
Well, obviously, I miss her. I mean, I was talking to Dad the other day and I said, when you don't know what to do, you turn to your mum, go and ask her for advice. But of course, she's the one that's missing.
It wasn't just a wife, she was the best friend. I miss all sorts of things. I miss waking up with her in the morning. I miss going to bed with her at night.
So it really does seem that the key to finding Kay would be finding her car. She was driving a green Mondeo, licence numbers P491PRL. The police have used an automated number plate recognition system to try and track where it went. And later in the week, we're going to show you how that tracking system works. So if you have any information that could help finding Kay, then please call Missing People. And the number, as ever, is on your screen now.
Now, today on the programme, we've been talking a bit about Alzheimer's and that being a cause of some people going missing. Linda Bellingham's here again. What's your advice to people watching us today?
I think what's amazing about this programme, it shows that if you're aware of the surroundings, not just people with Alzheimer's, but maybe especially people, if people look lost, don't be frightened to approach them. They're not going to wield an axe. They're not aliens. They're just lost. Find them.
Thank you.
Now, we're nearly out of time, so before we go, a quick reminder of some of the people that your help is needed to find. 48-year-old mum of two, Elaine Taggart, was last seen in Brighton on the 4th of January this year. Her red Fiat Punto was found near a local railway station later that same day.
Stephen Hadley disappeared in 2006 from Warsaw in the West Midlands, despite his clothes being found near a canal. There were 2 sightings of him months later, and actually we are getting calls in on him on the programme today.
Also getting calls in on Jim Dowsett, who's been missing from the Preston care home since Saturday the 18th of June 2005. He went for a walk at about 5 p.m. but failed to return.
And 15-year-old Tamara Williams went missing from Croydon in Surrey in January of this year. She's 5'2" with brown hair and has a gap between her 2 front teeth.
So if you can help with any of these cases, then please call Missing People. The number is up on your screen now.
Yep, that's all we've got time for you today. Remember, good news on Abigail Davenport. Thank you again for all your calls. They make a difference. Please keep them coming in. And tomorrow's programme will have updates on all our appeals. That's about it for today.
That is it.
Thank you for watching. We'll be back here at 9:15 tomorrow morning. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.